Why the hell is this happening? My stream's bitrate is lower than it should be. I don't know what that means. I don't know how it works. I wish I did. GG's. Yo, Vandred. Vandred. Why is my computer so crappy, bro? It shouldn't be like this. Vandred. Do you think I can just, because I need to get some stuff done for the channel. Well, I don't care if they want restreams. You think I care? You think I care if they want restreams? You think I care at all? You think I care? You think I care if they want restreams? Are you kidding me? You think I care? And you think I'm gonna take away from their audience? No way. Except you. One person. I'm restreaming it. I don't care. Okay. I have to think. I want to do some YouTube segments so I can post them today. Still get people in vertical? Yeah. Maybe. Okay. Well, like usual, I have nothing prepared, so I have to find something to react to on Twitter. I do have a couple items that I want to talk about. Oh my god, I hate Twitter. The websites all suck. All right. Oh yeah, the Tom Homan reaction. Tom Homan and Eric Adams. I have not done that yet. Tom Homan. Eric Adams. Okay. What's up, Vigeland and Vanguard? Well, I don't think they're gonna take my. They can't copyright strike it. You know what I mean? I'm doing. I don't know. I'm still gonna watch it because I want to get some stuff done for the channel too, so I can stream that debate and react to it while I'm watching everything. Okay, so where's the actual video of Homan and Eric Adams? I need the full interview. Tom Homan and Eric Adams, Fox and Friends? Was it on? Fox and Friends. I think it was on Fox and Friends. Was it a 21-minute interview?
Well, it is just
It is a 21-minute interview. Okay. Let's see the quid pro quo, brother. I want to look up what charges Homan, or not Homan. What charges did Eric Adams have? What was Eric Adams facing? And what did he do? Just so we have an overview of it. My computer is dying right now, bro. I might have to... After this day stream, I'm gonna go back and do some maintenance. Yeah, my computer's like really messing up. I'm gonna beg for money tonight. Bro, work. Make all right, that's good enough. Fly in first class. Yeah, I can still make videos. But it's not just the flying first class thing. It was also he illegally funneled money through foreign entities as well. So they like sent it to people in New York City, I think. And there's like a campaign. What is New York City's campaign finance matching law? New York City campaign funds matching law. Matching law. Okay, voluntary public financing system. The matching funds for a $10 donation, it can be amplified by a certain rate. What rate do they? 8 to 1. Public matching rates 8 to 1. So 8 to 1 means if you get, tell me if I'm wrong. So in New York City, if you receive $1, okay, does that mean you get $8 in public funds? And if you get like $10, you get $80 in public funds? Is that how the law works? I'm pretty sure that's how the law works. And also in return for the flights, he accepted over $100,000 in luxury travel and other benefits from Turkish nationals. Well, Tucker Carlson does that too, so it makes sense. Like Tucker Carlson does a lot of dark money stuff. It makes sense he'd be okay with it, or whatever. Concealment of gifts, failure to disclose it. He expedited the opening of the Turkish consulate in Manhattan without proper fire inspections. What is the Turkish consulate? Turkish consulate. Turkish consulate, is that like an embassy? Is a consulate like an embassy? So the 8-to-1 thing, if you get $1 in campaign funding from like if you're in New York City, running for something, and someone donates $1 to you, then the financing law means you get $8 back in public financing. So if you get more small dollar donations, your money will be amplified by the public funding. So you could be a smaller politician and still get funding back from New York City and have a chance to run. Even if you only get like $10,000 in donations, you get like $80,000 of public funding. I think that's how it works. I'm not completely sure though. Is a consulate like an embassy? Is a consulate same as an embassy? It's not the same as an embassy. They're diplomatic missions. Passport insurance and visa processing to citizens of country residing there. So the embassy is in the capital city. The consulate is in other major cities. The embassy handles wider diplomatic issues. So it's like the consulates are like mini embassies in different cities that are not the capital. Like an outpost? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Alright, well. Eric Adams is very corrupt, took money from foreign governments, gave them favors. He stole money from the public in their public financing in the New York City mayor race. He hid the funds. He did a lot of really illegal stuff. And Donald Trump's administration and the DOJ basically cut a deal with him, saying we're going to withdraw the charges, but if you fall out of line, then we're going to bring them back. So literally, if you follow Donald Trump in this administration, you are immune to federal law if you support Donald Trump. And if you don't support Trump and you break the law, all you need to do is bow down to Trump. And therefore, there is no legal system. If I'm a Democrat and I break the law, I could just say, oh, I like Trump now. I support his immigration initiative, which multiple Democrats have done. If you're corrupt, support Trump. You're free. No law, no legal system at all. The only purpose of the legal system now, the only purpose of the DOJ is to go after political opponents, explicitly to go after political opponents and only political opponents. Scalia, people that worked with Scalia and Roberts have resigned over this, different prosecutors. We had really conservative prosecutors and also conservative judges show their discomfort with what's happening. But Donald Trump's not a conservative. MAGA's not conservative. They are authoritarian movement.
Well, it has been a very busy week for New York City Mayor Eric Adams. The Department of Justice earlier this week dropped corruption charges against him. And yesterday, he met with border czar Tom Homan about the next steps in fighting New York City's migrant crisis.
How'd it go? Well, Mayor Adams and Tom Homan join us right now. Guys, great to see you.
Great
Morning together.
Thank you so much.
Make some news. Mr. Mayor, from your perspective, how did this meeting go? Why was it necessary?
Good. I think that, and Tom can speak for himself, I think he had a real level of frustration, and he was trying to figure out, hey, what's going on, Eric, what is happening? And we were able to get in the room and really articulate what are my powers, what are my authorities, and what are some of the things that we need to legislatively address that is preventing us from doing what we want to do, and that is getting dangerous people off our streets.
Right. And Tom Homan, as you know, Mayor, a couple days ago said he was angry at you in New York City because sounds like...
Yeah, to drop the charges, by the way, this is one example. This is someone who said, I expect you will eventually find someone who is a fool, who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion, but it was never going to be me. A 2 Bronze Star, this guy got 2 Bronze Stars in Iraq and clerked for Roberts before landing at SDNY. And he put out a really scolding letter talking about how, there's no legal reason to drop these cases at all. He is a criminal. He's a criminal, or likely a criminal, especially since he's cutting a deal now with the Trump administration. So this serves 2 purposes. Number one, You get the quid pro quo with Adams. You send a message to the entire system. You can violate federal law as long as you do it for Donald Trump, or as long as you support Donald Trump. You have no law that holds you accountable. That's the first message. And message number two is, if you are currently a prosecutor or a judge or whoever, if you step against this administration, we are going to force you out by any means necessary. And they want to send you a bunch of these BS cases that are unlawful to try and root out everyone, to try to root out the most conservative people from Scalia and Roberts, okay, that cloth. They want to root out any person who stands up for the Constitution or rule of law. So this is a bulldozer that any principled person is going to resign over, right? So they resign, replace them with loyalists, and also send a message where you can violate the law if you support Trump.
Like last time you guys got together over at Gracie Mansion, you probably said some stuff. Maybe we'd like to do this and that. And I think Mr. Homan, and Tom, you could start with this. You were frustrated that he wasn't doing enough. He wasn't keeping up his end of the deal.
Well, look, you know, I've been on the network for 4 years, and I've called the mayor out many times for not stepping up when it comes to public safety threats. But I tell you, when I sat down with him, I saw the cop in him. And he really does want to do the right thing because he is a cop. He's a lifelong cop. And so he wants to help take public safety threats off the streets of New York, make New York safer. He also wants to help find these missing children. We got 300,000 missing children. That many of them are here in the city. We know that.
This is him.
We got to find them. And he's
Mucinex man.
working with his intelligence division, his officers, to save these children because many of these children are in forced sex trafficking. Many are in forced labor. We need to save them. And I think everybody can agree to that. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on.
Yeah, and, you know, people want to hijack this narrative and turn it into a political narrative where we're saying we need to have public safety. I requested the meeting. I reached out.
Up to $8 million. Yeah, the campaign finance the campaign finance law in New York City means, you know, if you have $1 donated to you, you get $8 back, up to $8 million. It's a really big raise, really big tax base, and that's supposed to weed out corruption. But what he did, he made a deal with these Turkish nationals, got a bunch of luxury gifts from them. In return, he removed regulations for their consulate building, and also they shuffled money. They put money in different people's pockets in New York City to donate to Adams from them. Therefore, he used foreign money to abuse the campaign finance laws in the city that give you public funding. He stole American taxpayer dollars. He stole New York City's taxpayer dollars with foreign corrupt donations. So this is like one of the most pure forms of political corruption you can possibly have at this level of politics for New York City mayor. And yeah, now it's all going to be swept under the rug. And there is more than enough evidence. There's a reason he's cutting this deal right now instead of having the case actually play out.
To his team and said, we want to sit down. This has been an issue I was talking about before the election, spring of 2022. You look at these quotes over and over again.
You're right. I did not start the short stream. I was wondering why there were one viewer there. It's okay.
We need to go after these dangerous people in our street. And now I have someone that understands that narrative, and we are fighting together to get it done.
I know Tom has been on our network so many times saying he felt like ICE's hands were tied under the last administration. You've agreed to sign an executive order to open up an ICE office at Rikers Island so that these dangerous criminals that are here illegally can be deported. Tell the folks at home, because they'll hear this, they'll say, oh, they're going to come after me next. You said these are the worst of the worst. So who is at Rikers Island that will be deported? What have they done?
And you bring in 2 points where the far left has hijacked this narrative. ICE is running in our schools. ICE is running in our churches. And they are creating this frenzy. They're not in the business of just grabbing children. And we need to, just stop all this noise. Rikers Island, particularly after all the reforms, Rikers Island is now having some of the most dangerous people in our city. And by having ICE on Rikers Island, part of our gang intelligence, using our intel with NYPD, correction officers, we can identify those gangs inside and outside on the street. There was no reason they were removed from Rikers Island. And as I sat down with Tom earlier, I said that we're going to look at all the legalese. I'm able to do an executive order to put them back on Rikers Island, what they should be with part of our criminal justice apparatus.
You have a left-wing legislature. Everybody knows it. And for some reason, nobody votes in New York, so the same left-wingers get in every time. But if you had your druthers, would New York City be a sanctuary city?
Okay, so for sanctuary cities, I'm pretty sure he's going to give like a decent representation of what a sanctuary city is, but it makes a city safer, especially if you have a lot of undocumented people. This does not mean illegal immigration. It does not mean illegal immigration. It does not mean violent criminals, okay? It means undocumented people, visa overstays, or asylum seekers. For a sanctuary city, it means the people there are not going to feel the pressure of federal law enforcement or ICE trying to go into buildings or to like dissect the city constantly. If you are an immigrant and you are going through a process of getting your papers or you're undocumented, like I said, you feel safe to report crimes. You feel safe to work with your community. You pay taxes. You feel safe to be a witness in a criminal trial. You feel safe to report anything that might happen that's weird on your block. Meanwhile, if you don't have a sanctuary city, it's kind of like Good Samaritan laws where you know the legal protection is there. You're going to make sure your community is safer. So sanctuary cities actually make communities a lot safer. And it also means we have a very big history of ICE agents going through and detaining people who look like immigrants, In New York City, you have a lot of different diverse communities, okay? A lot of U.S. citizens who still speak other languages with accents that sound foreign. And we already know ICE is detaining U.S. military vets on accident. They're detaining, Puerto Rican citizens who are U.S. citizens. They're just detaining people because they want to run their numbers up. So if you have ICE in your city and you're not a sanctuary city, it creates a much more chaotic and fractured environment. People are scared. People are not happy. Innocent people are getting detained. That's why you typically separate local and federal law enforcement, especially because the federal law enforcement wants to come in and be the big bad guy and overrule your local rules. Sanctuary cities make everyone involved safer.
What we will always be. This has always been a city of immigrants.
So you think it should be?
No, let me.
Yeah, New York is a city of immigrants too. New York City is where it is. New York City was built on the backs of immigrants more than any other city. Ellis Island and the historical factors that have contributed to where New York City is now. And right now, New York City, like I said, is run by immigrants. Our country greatly benefits from immigration, both undocumented and documented.
Let me explain, because this is what's getting conflated.
Which is different from illegal immigration or violence.
That if you're in this city and you're paying taxes, you should have access to the services. What I asked the city council to do, change the bill that was already in place and modify it, that if you are committing a crime, that we should be able to collaborate with ICE, even on civil enforcement, if you have committed a crime. That part of the bill is wrong. But everyday people who are here until they're moving to be documented, if they are going to school, working, paying taxes, then they should be able to provide police.
Well, yeah, okay. If you have an issue, for example, with like a sanctuary city law, because it's not the same everywhere, but if your sanctuary city says, for example, we're not going to report a violent crime properly, if that is really an issue, you would adjust that part of the law. You would not just like take away a city's sanctuary status. Like Eric Adams just said right there, people are working jobs, paying taxes, amazing members of the community. You don't want your community to be torn apart by ICE for these people that are just like really amazing people working in your community. But if you see like a issue with the law, you can amend it, which is what Eric Adams is claiming here. But you're going to see Homan definitely shut it down.
Services, hospital services, children should go to school. That is what we're saying.
You don't agree with that, Tom?
No, I don't agree. I think sanctuary is a sanctuary for criminals. But we walked out of the meeting yesterday, and getting back on Rikers Island is a game changer.
And remember, they believe every single immigrant is an illegal criminal alien, okay? They don't believe in undocumented people. And you can see Eric Adams' face right there. They don't believe in asylum seekers. They don't believe in that stuff. They think every person in America who's not a citizen needs to be kicked out instantly. That's why a majority of the people they're deporting are peaceful, just like members of communities. They're deporting dreamers who are teachers, like public school teachers, dreamers that were brought here as kids because they want to run their deportation numbers up. 0 attempts to fix the immigration system. Just a completely brutal policy that they're following right now without any like clear rationale or a clear directive.
Danger. We can get.
And if you care about violent crime, you would be like, okay, if you care about violent crime, you don't want resources wasted. You would never want resources wasted on completely peaceful people who overstayed visas or who are dreamers. You would not waste resources there because you could be spending those resources tracking down the violent criminals, as they would say.
Not only would we get the bad guys where they hit the street, the intelligence of how TDA operates, where they're operating, all this intelligence they gather at Rikers Island, we'll have access to. But no, I'm strictly against sanctuary city status just because I think sanctuaries are for criminals.
Right.
And
They're a magnet.
But the beauty here is that we're allowed to disagree.
Right.
But we do agree on the fundamental that no matter who you are, it should be safe. So that's what people are missing. My life is sitting down with people I don't agree with 100%.
And Tom Homan is the guy who gets into fights with AOC. AOC was talking about our constitutional rights, for example, like not opening your door, not needing to speak to law enforcement, the 4th and 5th Amendments. Tom Homan said AOC should be in jail for talking about constitutional rights. And AOC said, oh crap, did Tom Homan talk about AOC then? Maybe. It's really interesting. Let's see what he said. Let's pray that she is not educating the next murderer of a young college nursing student how to evade arrest by ICE. I hate this world, bro. Let's pray that she is not educating she is not educating the next murderer of a young college student on how to evade ICE, Homan told Fox News Digital. How many more young women need to be raped, murdered, and burned alive until she wakes up? Ugh. It's hard to talk about how this is not a rational argument because it's not rational, so emotional feelings take over, obviously. And we're talking about like I said, families who have been here for a very long time, never commit a crime, never hurt anyone at all, being grouped in with violent criminals and rapists. Because they want you to feel like, they want you to view every single immigrant as a violent criminal or rapist. Instead of focusing efforts, by the way, on attacking violent crime, they're focusing on getting mad at AOC for telling families their constitutional rights. You see where the actual incentives are? And he goes to demonize all immigrants. Because maybe one of them's bad. By that argument, we should have a full police state. If you want a 0% crime rate, we need a full police state with no constitutional rights. Our constitutional rights inherently hold that some people who commit crime will be able to abuse them. That doesn't mean we should remove our constitutional rights. It doesn't mean we should remove those. In the same way, we should not remove immigration, all immigration, especially when immigrants commit crime at a much lower rate than American citizens. Because like I said, you could use the same argument for taking away the Constitution, and I actually never used that argument before. But if you're arguing for taking rights away from immigrants, that same logic can be applied to any citizen if they want to make crime lower, for them to surveil you 24/7. That's where this leads to. If you keep eroding rights from immigrants, it also affects your rights eventually.
At the time, I don't agree myself 100% of the time. But when Tom and I are in a room, we're both saying one thing: no matter who you are, if you're hurting innocent people in this city and in this country, you don't have a right to be in our country.
Well, here's the thing. You can disagree on things, but Tom has made it very clear that if a politician stands in the way of the federal government executing the law, they are going to bring charges against people like you. And in fact, we've seen the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, go after officials already. So was that part of the conversation yesterday?
No.
We are going to bring charges on you. Remember, they don't say what law. They don't say how they're going to bring charges. They don't say on what basis at all. They just say, if you defy us, we're going to bring charges to you. It can be civil, criminal, we don't know. We're going to make something up to go after you. They don't have the laws to do this. But what they're saying is, if you misstep against the Trump administration, if you don't follow the Trump administration in lockstep, we will come after you. And if you're a corrupt politician like Eric Adams, you could be a little puppet, because now they have a case hanging over his head where he knows if he does not fall in line with what the Trump administration's, I'm surprised Eric Adams is pushing back as much as he is here, because if he steps out of line too much, they're following through with that federal case, okay, and they're gonna put him in jail, okay? He knows that. So now he needs to obey. He needs to obey now. He has no choice.
I think it needed to be. I mean, we talked very frankly about, first of all, getting to Rikers Island, step one. That's the first step. We're working on some other things that we don't really want to talk about in open air, just because the city council will be putting roadblocks up on us. But the mayor and me have committed to several other things to make the city safer. Further collaboration. Again, city council, I don't like him. I think, and Mayor Adams, he's dealing with the sanctuary law, right? That an EO can't override.
Right.
So we're working on some things to work around some of these things. So we
You're
get
being
some things
careful
done.
the way you describe it.
I've got to be very careful, because the city council, they hate me, right? The city council, they don't want immigration enforcement in the city. So we got to make sure that we collaborate in a smart way so we can get more bad guys off the street.
Yeah. That's the goal. And you said something.
And also, I would like to add as well, when you have a sanctuary city, like New York City's police budget is huge. Okay, they have a huge police budget. They have a budget that countries of the same GDP put into their military. They have their own military, basically, in New York City. They have their own intelligence agency in New York City. When you have ICE agents coming in, there's a higher chance for racial profiling, because they're not going after violent crime. Remember, they are not going after violent crime. They're going after illegal immigration, undocumented immigration. Okay, they're going after asylum seekers. They're going after dreamers. So they are not going after violent crime. They can perhaps interfere with violent crime, but there's no evidence at all, or they can interfere with stopping violent crime, but there's no evidence at all. There's no evidence that adding immigrants to an area like New York City makes it any more dangerous. There's actually more information that we have to say immigrants make communities safer.
That's very interesting. You said that elected officials who are standing in the way are like me. Let's be clear. I'm not standing in the way. I'm collaborating against so many others that don't want to collaborate.
Well, now you're collaborating.
Like I said, go back to spring of 2022. I was saying we need to get dangerous people off our streets.
But it wasn't happening.
Is that true? We dropped crime in this city at remarkable levels.
Did you help ICE?
In the level of enforcement for criminal actions, yes.
Well, remember, Donald Trump believes that the crime rate in America has skyrocketed in the past 2 years. So if Eric Adams says the crime rate has come down in New York City, he has a really interesting game to play here. Because MAGA says he's running for mayor again. Remember, he's running for mayor again. So there's an interesting game. He needs to win the election. So he's saying things like we're doing good things. We're doing good things. We're dropping crime. Like we did drop crime. That's true. We handled the COVID pandemic pretty well with crime. You know, it went up for a little bit, but it came back down. So he can say things that are objectively true about the city, that sound good about the city, because he needs to get elected back to the city of New York City. But the Trump administration hates New York City. So how does he campaign effectively for himself and advocate for himself when he needs to also bow down to the God King? You know what I mean? So it's going to be really funny seeing him try to get out of this. I don't think he's gonna, though. You know, people like him, like what interest do they have once he's out of being mayor if he loses? What interest do they have in keeping him out of jail then? This is just like straight mafia crazy stuff. Like once they don't have any more use for you, they don't protect you anymore. It's all quid pro quos. It's all backroom deals. The rule of law is gone in America. It's effectively gone until the American people decide we need to bring it back.
Law says, Eric, you cannot do it for civil enforcement. But for criminal actions, yes. The police department, we have increased the number of officers assigned to our task force. Every morning we meet with our HIDA representatives, city, state, and federal level. Public safety, number one. I've always pursued this. Everyone knows that's
now,
what
Mr.
I
Mayor,
stand.
what is city?
But he doesn't care about public safety. He does not care about public safety. He wants to get the brown people out of America. That's his only goal.
Council, what are they saying about you wanting to change the wording where we could go after the illegals, even if they're paying taxes, if they commit a crime? Because I saw Vicky Palladino. I know she's a New York City Councilwoman. She's a Republican. And then Robert Holden is a moderate Democrat.
Both of them, if you were to talk to them about that change, they would tell you we agree with Eric.
Okay.
But the overwhelming number of council members who have made it clear that they're not going to modify that law.
Why? What is their reason? Why would they protect the criminal?
Well, I think that you look at many of the policies that I put in place. Put in my anti-gun union, 20,000 guns we moved up the street. Put in 1,000 cops back in the subway system to bring down.
That's funny too. 25,000 guns removed off the street, right? Did you say 25,000?
Why? What is their reason? Why would they protect the criminal?
Well, I think that you look at many of the policies that I put in place. Put in my anti-gun union, 20,000 guns we moved up the street. Put in 1,000.
Okay, how does that square with the Republican view on the Second Amendment? I know they only think the Second Amendment applies to like white people in the rural America, but like, does he cheer that on? The anti-gun unit taking 25,000 guns from New York City? What do Republicans in chat think about that? Is it good that they took 25,000 guns out of New York City?
1,000 cops back in the subway system to bring down crime. All of these initiatives that I do around public safety, it's a constant fight with them because I think many people are articulating their personal reasons and not the feeling that the city has.
If they were illegal guns, then yes. What do you qualify as an illegal gun? Because if you want to say that, if you want to say the guns in New York City are illegal guns, then most of guns in America are illegal then. In rural America, that's sold through gun shows or between friends or between whatever means that you can sell them through. That's not the official FAA requirements or whatever. Or not FAA. I don't know why I said FAA. I'm thinking about planes. Freaking ATF.
78%
I said
of New York.
FAA. You're selling planes, brother, not guns. You're selling planes. Why did I say FAA? The Firearms Administration.
Stand with me. Stand with what Tom is doing about getting these dangerous individuals.
But the problem is we don't know they're dangerous till they kill. Like that guy that put this woman on fire because she fell asleep on the subway. He didn't have a criminal. He didn't have a record. But after he lit up the woman on fire, now he's a problem. He didn't belong here. Same thing with Laken Riley's killer, who was housed here, went to Georgia and killed. So even though you say, well, we want to be open to people, we don't know these guys are criminals until they act, and then it's too late. Then they become a.
Well, Donald Trump knew when he pardoned the January 6 guys that beat up cops, made them lose eyeballs, took off their fingers. Multiple cops died. Donald Trump knew they were criminals. Multiple January 6 violent offenders were child predators who went back to being child predators and were arrested again after Trump pardoned them. So Trump pardoned people we knew were violent criminals on purpose, and MAGA's okay with that because you love your daddy, but you don't like the brown people, the immigrants, You don't like the immigrants. So we can have an immigration system where the crime rate for immigrants is half that of white Americans. Okay, white American citizens have a higher crime rate than illegal aliens, all right? But you don't care about immigrants being a safer population. You don't care about Trump pardoning people who are child predators and who beat the shit. There's one guy that beat up his 3-year-old daughter. He beat up his 3-year-old daughter, got arrested on January 6th. Trump pardoned him. Another guy got into an altercation with a cop after January 6th and got shot and killed by police officers. So, virtue signal about your so-called proclamations on how you claim you care about violence in American streets, but you really have groups you just target, and you have groups you choose what side to pick a team of. What team are you on? and going through our legal immigration processes for asylum seekers and having some people going through a legal process commit crime, you're putting that personal responsibility on the elected officials when our country refuses to fix our immigration system. But you're not going to blame Trump for pardoning the police officer beaters who went back to assaulting children after he pardoned them. Weird.
A problem. But if they never got here, there wouldn't be a problem.
And that's what's good about what we're doing right now. What Tom.
If they never got here, there wouldn't be a problem. That would only apply if you would 100% be able to vet someone and know if someone would commit like a violent crime or something. But for example, people going through the system, even if you fully vet them, the records are not there all the time. And like I said, still, this population has a much lower crime rate than American citizens, still. But if you want to advocate for zero immigration, do that. But just realize you're advocating for zero immigration. You're advocating for zero immigration other than just highly selective white-collar jobs or whatever. And even that will result in some crime. You can have only like top income earners come from other countries. Top income earners who have zero records, who have the most transparent history, and they will still commit crimes. Some people will still commit heinous crimes. So if you want zero immigration, if you want to live in a fantasy utopia, that's great. But I'm more concerned about how we make Americans and humans in general safer.
The border czar has done. I've said it over and over again. We need to control our borders and not allow people to come into the country, gang members coming into the country, people who are here to commit crime. I think what we've witnessed the border czar has done, we have seen a substantial decrease in that flow.
Tom, you know the NYPD. How frustrated are they that they can't fully have your back, be able to tell them exactly where these guys are, be able to go into these raids with you?
Yeah, there was a Google engineer that murdered their wife, foreign born. Was he on a visa? So yeah, at that point you're going to say no immigration at all. But then you want to like have a full police state and deport American citizens if they commit a crime, including yourself if you commit a crime. You're just advocating for a fake world that does not exist. You know, bad things happen. We want to limit bad things. But just going after undocumented immigrants, of course, is going to be stupid. It's a dumb use of resources. Go after violent criminals. Cool. If you're spending any resources, let alone more than half of our ICE resources going after undocumented and dreamers and people that have not committed a crime at all, civil infractions, overstaying visas. If you're spending resources going after them, you have a different political agenda. You're not really caring about violent crime.
Oh, they're frustrated. I mean, the NYPD wants to protect their streets too, and they want to enforce the law, and they want to collaborate with us. I mean, I don't think I met a single uniform in the 4 years I've been coming to the studio that sit out front and I shake everyone their hands. We had dinner with officers last night, not only from NYPD, we had dinner with officers from Newark and from Philadelphia. We had a whole table full of officers that want to do the right thing. They want to collaborate with us. But I think yesterday's meeting, I came to New York City, I wasn't going to leave without nothing.
Right.
I did the last time, and I told them I'm not leaving until I got something. And so we're back into records, that's huge. But we got other things we're working on. So I'm hoping, and now I got him on the couch in front of millions of people. He can't back waving us now, right? So I think you're going to see things move in the right direction. I really, truly believe that.
And we don't want to give the false impression that there's no collaboration around criminal justice. We collaborated with ICE to take down a very dangerous gang member who was trying to put grenades in our city, caught with a gun. So there's real collaboration with HIDA, our criminal justice apparatus on the city, state, and federal level. We want ICE to come and be a part of that meeting as well.
Well, Mayor, let's talk a little bit about, you've been in the news all week.
Yes.
The Department of Justice dropped the criminal corruption charges against you. The U.S. attorney here in New York City, the Southern District, she quit yesterday, the acting U.S. attorney. And so did 5 members of the Department of Justice because they felt...
Someone said in the comments that there's prisons being drained into America. There is not one singular piece of substantiated evidence that there's prisons being intentionally drained into America from these countries. Donald Trump just said that and you believed it. We can look through data, we could look through news reports, we could look through different countries' policies. There's people with criminal backgrounds that entered the U.S. illegally, sure. But the idea that there's prisons being dumped in the U.S. is wholly untrue, completely untrue. Like, there's no evidence for that. You need to demand evidence from people that tell you shit. You can't just believe everything they say. They have a motive. Every politician has a motive for you to believe their side of the story. But you should believe politicians who can bring receipts for that kind of thing. There's a reason where immigrants go, we don't see spikes in crime. We don't see spikes that are tied to immigration. We just don't see it.
like being forced by the Department of Justice to drop the corruption charges was inappropriate and they should not have asked. And what she said was, she said, you offered to help with the migration problem and the immigration agenda in exchange for the case being dropped.
Think about that. Think about that. Think about my attorney, Alex Spira, one of the top trial attorneys in the country. Imagine him going inside saying that the only way Mayor Adams is going to assist in immigration, which I was calling for since 2022, is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime.
That
it
is
took her
quid pro
three.
quo.
She took.
Yeah, it is a crime, and you're admitting to the crime on live television. There's a reason he's appearing with Tom Homan, okay, talking about ICE making a base on Rikers Island. He's appearing on the same exact day that the charges have been dropped, okay, that the motions are being filed. There's a reason this is happening on that same day. It is a crime. They are committing another crime. And he did commit crimes to become mayor. He stole taxpayer dollars. He colluded with foreign governments and gave them favors and accepted luxury trips in return. And they donated money to him through illegal means. He tried to hide it, so he does illegal stuff. This is illegal. This is quid pro quo. Explicitly quid pro quo. That's why there's conservative judges and prosecutors. Well, There's conservative prosecutors quitting over this. Extremely conservative. Those who clerked for Roberts and Scalia, okay? Those prosecutors are leaving because this is a blatant violation of the law. It is a quid pro quo. Yes, Eric Adams, you are doing that.
It took her 3 weeks to report.
They think you're stupid. They think you're stupid. They think you guys are all stupid. Or they think you're okay with having no laws in America.
Is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime.
That
it
is
took her
quid pro quo.
it took her 3 weeks to report in front of her a criminal action. Right. Come on, this is silly.
So,
Right after
they said that we're not saying. They said when they gave you when they dropped the charges, it says it's not because we think he's innocent. It says we think that it affects elections. It's going to affect his re-election, and we think
we don't think he's innocent. Dude, it's amazing how Fox and Friends, okay, they are the dumbest people of all time on Fox. But the moment they need to be analytical, they are. They are not dumb, bro. These guys are not dumb. No one on Fox is dumb. They're putting on an act. They're putting on a dumb act because they know how to speak dumb, because their followers, their watchers, their viewers only listen to dumb language. They're not really dumb. Look how carefully they're dissecting this case. If they did this with anything else, they would not be able to be on the conservative side. But here, they understand every nuance of it. But yeah, they literally did admit it would affect his election. We want him in place because he's going to listen to us. He's going to play ball with us. Even if it is illegal, we're not even going to argue it's not illegal. We're just going to admit it's corruption.
that was wrong.
I'm sorry, who said
Where
that?
the Department of Justice dropped the charges, they said it's not because they think the charges were unjust or that you're innocent, but they were doing it because with the charges they feel affected an election.
No, go deeper into what they wrote. They articulated exactly weaponization. When you looked at legroom turning into bribery, because I asked for a governmental entity to do a building inspection. We need to be clear on the root of all of this. And the
Turkish embassy.
Exactly. Main justice, I learned so much through this whole process. They review cases to determine moving forward or not, as my attorney articulated.
But
so we look at the
Notice how Eric Adams focuses on the Turkish consulate building, and he does not talk at all about the bribery or fraud or concealing gifts or lying about it, trying to hide evidence, trying to obstruct justice. He does not bring up any of those aspects. He just says, man, that would be a crime. I just helped them build a simple little building, bro. It was just a simple little building. They did not have me on a plane to Turks and Caicos or whatever. They did not give me the full spa in first class and give me tons of money and illegally finance my campaign, helping me steal American taxpayer dollars, helping me steal New York City taxpayer dollars. They didn't do that, bro. It was just a simple building, bro.
The heart of what I was being charged with as the mayor, I was the borough president at the time, not say pass someone, can you do an inspection?
Tom, you're friends with the president, obviously.
An
came out of
inspection.
retirement.
It's all about an inspection, bro. The federal indictments, that's all they said. It's about inspections, bro. It was an issue for Eric Adams. He did nothing wrong. It was just it was a building inspection, bro. Building inspection. He's being targeted, bro. He's being targeted. They think you're stupid. They think you're stupid. If you're okay with this, you're either stupid because they're right. They can convince you because you're stupid, or you're okay with the corruption. You're okay with the corruption. Please drop a like on the stream for the algorithm. I will take calls in a few minutes. Please drop a like on the stream. Hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. If you're watching on YouTube, do the same. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Twice to go work for him and not making nearly as much money. Hope your wife's okay with that. But we appreciate you because you're fighting for this country and keep it up. But you talked to the president. The president was asked if this was quid pro quo, if he had anything to do with it, and he said he didn't.
Trump doesn't know.
I believe the
Trump is barely alive right now. Trump is barely even thinking. Okay, he's thinking about golf. He's spending more money to attend the Daytona 500 today. More like probably 30 million taxpayer dollars. He was doing laps around the track in the president car, whatever the hell it's called. He spent $20 million to go to the Super Bowl for like 2 quarters. Yeah, Trump does not care about any of this. He has no idea what's going on.
And look, The president's doing a great job, and I want to say this. Look, I worked for 6 presidents. I think President Trump's the greatest president of my lifetime, and he proves it every day. Every day he proves to me why he is the greatest president of my lifetime. Border numbers are down over 90% in 3 weeks.
Think about that.
And you know, I worked hard at it. You know, Kristi Noem's working hard at it. You know, the chief of patrol agent working hard at it. But it was President Trump's executive orders that was a game changer, right? And we already got over almost 16,000 people we arrested in the interior. That's 3 times more than Joe Biden had a year from now. But it's not enough. We got to do more. But President Trump's leadership, when you got 90% less people coming across the border, how many women aren't being raped by the cartels? How many children aren't drowning? How many women?
Oh, they're attributing the drop compared to years ago. It was already dropped. Oh my God, this is another one of those topics. So in 2022, Mexico agreed to $1.5 billion with the Biden administration to help shore up border security. Now, the $1.5 billion in 2022 was going to be a project that lasted for 2 years, and it would conclude with everything in place at the end of 2024. So under Biden, his final 6 months, we saw one of the biggest decreases in illegal border crossings in the past 10 years. All right. But now Trump is taking credit for that. Trump is taking credit for Biden. Biden was able to get Mexico to actually pay for a border bill. He got Mexico to pay $1.5 billion to shore up the border. Biden did. And the numbers were crashing before Trump took office. And he's been in office now for like 3 weeks. And there's been no major change at all on anything, but they're comparing the numbers to years ago and taking credit for the policy Biden had done with Mexico. I can't stand this world, bro, with all the irrational thinking already, and then they get to misappropriate facts, and they get to just say like, oh, Trump did the thing that someone else actually did, he's going to take credit for it. But meanwhile, like Trump blamed Biden for the current inflation. Trump just blamed Biden this week, a day ago, actually, 2 days ago, for the current inflation. He said Biden's inflation is raging. But meanwhile, the border that Biden got back down is all Trump. So every problem is not Trump's fault, but every success is Trump's victory, no matter what it is.
Children aren't being sex trafficked in this country. President Trump's a game changer. And every day, I'll say it 100 times, every day he proves to me why he's the greatest president of my lifetime, what he's done.
And you know, Tom, one of the reasons, in addition to not...
The 90% thing comes from a New York Post. It's not even a real figure that they're citing. I know the border numbers came down a lot, but where is it cited? I just see. I know. I know it went down. I don't know the exact numbers. We'd have to see that. Numbers that evade arrest.
Interfering with your election. One of the other things was they needed you to essentially assist Tom with the migration problem here in New York City.
And what does that look like? People didn't understand what that looks like. What that looks like, as I say, every morning we meet with hideouts.
Right.
Federal, state, and city law enforcement agencies.
Which we now have a seat at the table.
Exactly. That was another thing we
But that's good, and that's good because, as you know, Mayor, the way this particular case is being handled right now, they can refile the charges at any time. If you don't help them, they could refile the charges. And
that's not what they said. That's not what
they can refile the charges.
No.
Right.
First of all, I don't get into the legalese. I have an attorney.
I have an attorney. Talk to my attorney. Someone said, why don't you bring up Biden's corruption? Bro, Biden's corruption to you are things you don't like that he did. Trump's corruption is blatantly ignoring the Constitution and ignoring laws. Corruption means a real thing. Corruption is corruption, all right? Corruption of officials, quid pro quo. Biden doing something you don't like is not corruption. And if you want to call in once I'm done reacting to this and tell me what corruption Biden did, I would love to talk about it.
You do that, and I pay a lot for that. What we need to be clear on, if the mayor of the city of New York is unable to collaborate, deal with intelligence information, sit down with my state and federal agencies, and sit down to coordinate for public safety, we're still under the terrorist threat. We still have illegal gangs in our community that's bringing about destruction that ICE is attempting to weed out. If I can't coordinate...
Border Patrol chief said it's down 90%, so we don't have any like metrics. I don't know, bro. I don't know if I can trust any numbers anymore. Maybe we're going to just like make up numbers for everything. We're going to all be like making freedom gardens in our backyards to eat. We have to all buy we have to have like a custom chicken for our housing, for our houses we need a chicken to provide our houses with eggs because eggs are no longer a thing. And they're going to say we're richer than ever before, bro. We're richer than ever before.
That's a public safety issue, and we should put public safety first.
Governor Hochul said last night with Rachel Maddow that she would consider removing you. How would you feel about that?
She has her role, I have my role. And throughout this entire ordeal, which I think no American should have to go through, the torment of 15 months that my family and I had to endure for something I didn't do. I didn't do anything wrong. Throughout the entire ordeal, I said one thing. My attorney will handle the...
See, that's the best legal representation, bro. You go in court, all right? You say to the judge, hey, judge, I did not do nothing wrong, bro. I did nothing wrong. And they let you go. They let you go free.
Legal part, I'm going to handle running the city. We return jobs to our city. Our cities get safer. We're building housing. I think that this is a great American narrative where I stood focused on what I was elected to do.
I want you to address the
This is the great American
is an
narrative.
embarrassment position she holds. She stands on media after someone's burned alive on a subway. She stands in front of TV camera and says, I think criminal aliens should be removed too. But she's got the green light law. The men and women of ICE and Border Patrol, when they pull a vehicle over, law enforcement, you're in law enforcement.
What's the green light
What's the
law?
first thing you would do? You run the license
Green
plate
light
number. Are
law.
these wanted? Is there a warrant for these people? Who are they? Are they dangerous? That car stolen? All these things, right? Do you know ICE and CBP can't run DMV data on New York State license plate? So they're pulling over people not even know who the hell they are.
Is that the green light law?
The green light law. So she, on one point, she's saying, well, I think criminals should be removed too, but then she locks us out of DMV data. Right. That'd be like us locking officers out of NCIC, the Fed zone. Would we do that? No, because officer safety is paramount. She's putting the men and women at ICE at risk every day. The job's already dangerous. So Governor Hochul, she needs to be removed. Everybody needs to be removed, needs to be her. She supports sanctuary
policies. I don't know
policies.
anyone who thinks she's doing a good job. She's an embarrassment. It's hard for me to be impartial on that.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The migrant shelter, it's this called a mega migrant shelter that's going to be built in the Bronx. We interviewed a representative.
So the green light law. Okay, this is what you do when you have okay, so just for all the Trump supporters in chat. So you hear about something that someone says and you start to do research and you read the actual law, how it's written. Okay, so the green light law, the different aspects of it that went into effect in 2019. Access to driver's licenses. The law allows individuals without legal immigration status. This can be undocumented. Okay, this can be someone who's a visa overstay. This can be a dreamer who's not a documented citizen, but they're also not a violent criminal or an illegal immigrant, okay? All right. You can apply for a standard driver's license in New York, meaning if someone's on the road, they have the proper training, the proper licensing, which makes the road safer. Alternative documentation, and that also allows people, on different visas and overstay programs and protective status, easier access to driver's licenses so they could be well-trained drivers. Alternative documentation, applicants can use foreign passports, consular IDs, or other forms of ID instead of a social security number. Immigrants cannot get social security. They don't pay into it, or they do pay into it. They do pay into it, but they cannot receive it. They have an individual taxpayer identification number, I think an ITIN. So this would provide, the green light law allows for different documentation. The green light law also allows for privacy protections. The law prohibits New York Department of Motor, the DMV, from sharing applicants' personal information with federal immigration authorities, such as ICE or CBP, without a court order. So if you have a court order, okay, if you go through the legal process, then you can obtain it, but if you don't, you cannot obtain it. So the Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights that are still covered here, which AOC talked about, they disagree with those rights. And like I said, if you don't agree with them, immigrants having rights with privacy and the searches and seizure and all that kind of stuff, and whatever, if you don't believe that law enforcement needs a warrant or a court order to invade your space and your property, if you don't believe that immigrants deserve that right, then eventually they're going to come for your right to that. So I think it's good that there's privacy protections. If you have a warrant, if you have a court order, you can get the information from the DMV, but you cannot just demand information from the DMV without court order with this green light law. Also, Real ID versus standard licenses. The law does not allow undocumented immigrants to obtain Real ID compliant licenses, which are required for air travel and certain federal purposes. So, Tom Homan is mad, essentially, that New York City treats undocumented immigrants, which visa overstays and asylum seeking and whatever it might be, mostly visa overstays or dreamers, whatever. If you're here and you're not documented, that is a civil infraction. All right, it is not criminal. You are not an illegal immigrant. That's why we say undocumented. It's a civil infraction, not criminal. So New York State has a lot of people who fall under that umbrella. And they want to protect people's rights. That's what the green light law does. So Tom Homan is just mad that New York City and New York State is protecting people's rights and not allowing federal law enforcement to invade personal data, which, by the way, once they do that, they also steal Americans' personal data. In general, you're giving more of a window for federal law enforcement to steal your data. I think the green light law seems pretty decent, pretty cool.
From the Bronx, and he said he talks to everyone on the street. Not one person wants that facility built. What's the status on that? Is there any way
that's a great. You know what's interesting? If I go to anywhere in the city, when I had 220,000 migrants here, anywhere in the city.
Yeah, federal ICE cannot just go and access databases without court order, which is a good thing. And if you're an American citizen And you have this thought over and over again in your head, like, oh, this will never affect me. They're going after the immigrants, not me. They're going after the immigrants, not me. As you erode civil rights and you create legal precedent for individuals to have their rights basically removed, stepped on, you're opening the door down the road for your rights to be violated. Read some books about history, brother, or some, I don't know. Keep America's coat.
And ask who would like a shelter there. Not one elected would raise a hand. And then you ask them the next question, how many of you went to Washington, D.C. under the previous administration and said, you need to stop this? I took 10 trips there. So you cannot represent your concern merely from the sterilized environment of your office space. They should have been with us saying, we need to stop this flow, and they weren't. And so the shelters have to go somewhere.
Well, how long is the federal government going to be paying for the Roosevelt Hotel or any of these other sanctuary hotels?
We're continuing to close them down.
It's not a sanctuary hotel. It's asylum seekers, which is a legal process. It's a legal process. America benefits from immigration. The American taxpayer benefits from immigration. They pay into taxes. They work probably for cheap. Okay, I don't think it's good that you can exploit any worker. But it's not sanctuary hotels. It's asylum seekers, because the federal government helped New York City after Texas bust a bunch of immigrants to New York, and I also have to remember in this scenario, in this conversation, that you guys are not Christians, because you really hate immigrants. You hate others. You know, you are not Christians. You don't believe in Jesus Christ, at least. You believe in a very, very regressive, old crusader form of Judeo-Christianity. You don't really abide by the rules of, or by the teachings of Christ. But yeah, New York City got funding from the federal government to help them house immigrants who were legally seeking asylum through the legal process. If you have a problem with the legal process, okay, change the legal process. But they were following the law. I know in America we don't care about the law anymore, but
because of the job that we did, 180,000 out of our system. We closed down Floyd Bentonfield.
So one at a time, closing them down?
No, more than one at a time. We have to close down as the population decrease. We put in place a 30 and 60-day plan. No one can stay longer than that.
Because your president that you were working for and what worked for his reelection let that happen and didn't take your phone calls when you asked for help.
100%.
He
I agree.
iced you out. So
right.
you're gonna have a decision.
That's a good point.
Right.
Well, the days of the federal government.
how did New York City get the funding? They did. Oh my God, bro, the partisan. I hate it. He didn't answer the phone call. Yep, sure thing. So, like, here's the narrative here. Okay, Joe Biden opened the borders and gave our free money away to illegal aliens. But Eric Adams just said, Joe Biden never answered the calls to help us with this issue. Yes, both of those scenarios definitely happened.
Paying the migrant centers are over.
Good.
Right.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you're going to run for re-election?
Yes.
Are you considering
Which one
running
was
as
the
a
SSP?
Republican?
I'm going to run on the Democratic line. We petitioning to start it, starting soon, running as a Democrat. There's a many Democrats, like you look at those 78% that believe what we do, what ICE is doing by getting dangerous people out. I think
What is
that we have to
SSP?
get people out to vote.
SSP?
That is the problem.
But you're
Someone
losing
said.
by about 25 points to former Governor Cuomo, who wants to be mayor.
Cuomo's
Well,
running.
listen to this. I had another Andrew in my previous race. He was beating me by double digits in
Andrew
February,
Yang?
but we don't call Andrew Yang mayor. We call Eric Adams mayor. Never give up. New Yorkers never give up. People had me gone months ago, but you know what? I'm sitting on your couch talking to
You
Fox
are
and
sitting
Friends.
today talking about the new alliance between ICE and Adams. So thank you very much for coming and
Thank
telling
you.
us the news.
Make it
Alliance was never spared.
And if he doesn't come through,
Maybe you're up early anyway.
if he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City,
Right.
and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, "Where the hell is the agreement we came to?" So
Nice. The agreement we came to. One more thing. I have been seeing this post a lot today, and it's saying basically that she blames free speech for the Holocaust. Now, I want everyone to think, how did the Holocaust happen? Okay, what necessarily had to happen for people to believe that the Holocaust was necessary? How did they share that message? How did the Nazi Party gain power in Germany?
You
Okay?
know that. Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a
Now, it's not good framing because the American people never had this kind of thing happen, really. Free speech being weaponized by a dictator or a demagogue to become a dictator until now. But it was very clear that at the time in Nazi Germany, to share these ideas, Hitler's speeches are highly remembered. The speeches are big. Being able to talk about everything and lie about things publicly leads to things like this happening. How else does the influence spread? Now, saying you're weaponizing free speech makes it sound like you're against free speech, so it's terrible framing. But acting like free speech did not play a role in the Holocaust is just like ignoring history. You're just ignoring history. So, for example, should you be able to say the Holocaust was not real and have podcasts talking about the Holocaust not being real and tell people that there's a secret cabal of Jewish people that we need to exterminate from society? Is that free speech? There are limits to free speech. Free speech absolutism is not how the Founding Fathers intended free speech to work. It's not how it functions in general. But yeah, do you have the free speech to convince people to do atrocities? Because if you get them to believe anything, to believe a reality, because you're an influential speaker, you can get them to do anything. You can get them to do anything. That's what these dictator types have. They have the ability to get people to believe different realities, and then they act on those false realities.
Of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups.
She's talking about the AFD. JD Vance, Elon Musk is supporting the AFD in Germany, which is like the new neo-Nazi party. They brand differently, but they are the new far-right neo-Nazi party in Germany. And they claim that the AFD is being censored in Germany. But meanwhile, they were just on primetime national television in Germany. So they claim to be the victim. They claim everything. They're victims and bullies at the same time. But yeah, the freedom of speech that the AFD has, they're using it for major political power and to spread lies about migrants and about other culture groups and scapegoating members of the society. So yeah, JD Vance in that speech at the Munich Security Conference lied his ass off the entire time.
The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that.
At a security conference where they were supposed to be discussing like Russia and China, JD Vance said, Russia and China are not real threats. They are not real threats at all. The real threat to Europe is the enemy within. The enemy within, guys. The enemy within is the real threat. Russia and China, who cares about them? You should be fighting each other. You should fight each other. That's what JD Vance went to Europe to say.
That the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they...
How did the authoritarian Nazi regime gain so much power and influence? How did they gain so much power and influence? How did they spread their message to the point where people believed in this distorted reality, which put their brains into a position where they justified atrocities? How did the German people come to support the Nazi Party, come to love the Nazi Party? How did they gain influence? It wasn't done by free speech. It was done by the people who did the crime for sure. But how did they get the power to do that crime?
They hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of.
They hated minorities. Yes, they did hate minorities. And they used free speech to convince other people to also hate those minorities. Yes, that's how it works.
People they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition.
There was free speech in the Weimar Republic before Nazi Germany. There was free speech leading up to Nazi Germany. The free speech afforded in the Weimar Republic gave the Nazis a larger platform to speak to the public and reach more people. So yes, free speech did exist in Germany before Nazi Germany, but once the Nazis used their speech and influence to gain power, then in Nazi Germany, they cut out free speech and crushed all political dissent. Okay? That's how it works. That's how politics works. Speaking, a microphone can be the biggest weapon or tool of all time. You can motivate people to do good things, motivate people to do bad things, get them to believe in a vision of reality that might not be true or might be true. And they can act off it.
Position in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So
yeah, and they became the sole and only party that governed that country through their manipulation of the speech and of the political narratives.
That's not an accurate reflection of history.
Man, the accurate reflection of history, the way these guys can lie, and he knows he's a liar too. This same guy, you know, JD Vance called Trump Hitler. RFK called Trump Hitler. He called Trump like a Russian stooge and an authoritarian who threatened the Constitution. They all did, but they want power over all. And you guys will listen to this and just soak it all up and suck it all up because you love your daddy Trump. That's all that matters to you. But of course, you're skipping the steps to Nazi Germany. People always ask, where are the death camps when you're leading up to authoritarianism? People only agree that the Holocaust was bad. They only agreed it was bad after the fact. Leading up to the Holocaust, the German people were largely supportive of the violent authoritarian regime. They were willing to give all the power up to this one person, Hitler, who claimed he had all the answers, who claimed he was going to save America, who claimed he was going to save Germany, who claimed he was the only person who can save the nation. And Hitler justified his rise by saying, I'm the only person that can save you all. So I deserve power above the law. That is the main conversation here. He said, I deserve power above the law because I'm the one that wants to save you. And to save you, we need to pursue this vision of eradicating a certain type of people from our society, the Jewish conspiracy. That's why these people always say, we're saving you, to act like they're doing something good, but I need ultimate power. Once they use their speech to get ultimate power, he who saves his country does not violate any law. Donald J. Trump yesterday. Donald J. Trump. He who saves his country does not violate any law. Once they gain power by using speech to manipulate the populace to give them support, then they crack down. Then they do the authoritarian policies that you see. Then they do the atrocities that you see historically. So yes, freedom of speech is a dangerous tool. It's very powerful. That's why we protect it. That's why we protect freedom of speech. We protect freedom of speech because we know it's powerful. We know it's powerful for people to be able to speak out against their government. We know it's powerful. We need to recognize its inherent power, recognize the right people should have to speak out, but also recognize when there are leaders trying to distort reality using freedom of speech to get people to believe in a version of the world that leads to nothing but chaos and violence. If you don't have nuance, you don't have a brain. And right now, at this period in American history, we need nuance more than ever before. When the White House is displaying messages saying essentially, I heard someone say, Donald Trump is the living Constitution. Donald Trump is the living Constitution, doing propaganda runs nonstop. Donald Trump, doing laps around the Indy 500. Donald Trump is the Constitution. They want power. They're spending taxpayer money on propaganda runs, and they're cutting taxpayer money from Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. They're eliminating government watchdogs. They're eliminating the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're eliminating every part of government that protects the American people from corruption. The agencies they're going after are cheap agencies that barely affect the federal budget. The agency's jobs are to limit corruption and limit overall centralized power, because our founding fathers knew centralized power is the biggest threat to freedom in any system. Centralized power is the biggest thing to be afraid of. If someone wants power over law, if someone wants to bypass checks and balances, if someone wants ultimate power, if the White House is posting pictures like this, he who saves his country does not violate the law. A direct quote from Napoleon, before Napoleon became a dictator, before Napoleon led a coup. Okay? And they claim law and order is their backing when they pardon violent January 6 guys that beat the shit out of cops, made them lose eyeballs, made them lose fingers, made multiple cops die. When he pardons known child predators from January 6, known child abusers from January 6, who then went on after being pardoned from January 6 to go and abuse more children. When you have a president doing these things, where he's saying essentially, if you support me, anything you do is legal. If you go against me, you should be illegal. You should be banned. This is rising authoritarianism in America. This is rising authoritarianism in America. Directly just quoting dictators. Not only quoting Hitler during the campaign trail, saying that immigrants are poisoning the blood of America. He did say immigrants are poisoning the blood of America, and other comments on eugenics and genes, and about immigrants just having worse genes than us. Not only did he quote Hitler then, and quote Mein Kampf a few times, he's quoting Napoleon. He's quoting this same statement was made by every dictator, whether it's Stalin, whether it's Mao, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whether it's Kim Jong-un, whether it's Mussolini. You should not need to violate the law and consolidate power into one person or to one branch of government in order to save the country, quote unquote. It's always propaganda. It's always using speech, using freedom of expression to lie to people, to distort their reality, and to get consent. They are sweet-talking the American public to get consent to enact authoritarian policies. And we all will suffer, whether you support him or not, whether you're an immigrant or not. They will run out of weak people to go after. Once they run out of enough weak people to go after, you're going to be on the list. Being white, being Christian, being male, being rich even, like that stuff does not protect you. Stand up against anything, they will come after you. The ahistorical, the way we are rejecting history in America right now is insane. Down to saying that, oh, the Holocaust was just like mean people who were racist. The Holocaust was just like a single party rule. Yeah, they got that power. They got that majority. They got that single party rule because they used freedom of speech to lie to the people of Germany, to convince them, to convince the people to give Hitler and the Nazi party authoritarian power by scapegoating minority groups, by turning the citizens against each other, by making German citizens fight each other. You divide and conquer. And we're falling into the same trap in America today. All right, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. My foot is asleep. Whoa, my foot is sleepy. Please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Please drop a like and subscribe to the channel, sir. Please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. Is there a... Wow. When is the debate with Pisco at? What is the order? What is the order? There's something live right now.
It can be an institution that you give authority to, even if it's not elected. Like this happens now, okay? There are certain, like let's say the World Health Organization, right? I didn't elect anybody in the World Health Organization, neither did you. Right. But you're not going to argue with me that they're not a very powerful group.
True.
And it's because when they release their mandates, documents, things like this, people give it a lot of adherence. They like, wait, these are experts. We should listen to what they're saying, right? We have a lot of trust in them. They exercise a lot of power, right? Power is not always exercised through just voting and through things like this, but also through the trust of institutions or the trust of value structures that people have. So you could have an idea.
Do you have a schedule for this?
A Christian
Vanguard?
social order,
or
which has a lot
time?
Of power, just because they say things like, "Look, we're going to put significant pressure on you to put in Christian ethics from the top down, using democracy, using voting, using your systems." And aren't we allowed to do that under your system? Aren't we encouraged to do that under your system? So why shouldn't we be just going full bore to grab as much of that power as we possibly can so that we can make those changes?
I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is then.
Between what?
Between the system we have right now that just worked.
That Christians aren't the dominant social power.
Time?
That's the difference.
7 Eastern time.
And when Christians become the dominant
right?
social power, then you'll have true Christian nationalism.
What does that look like to you when they have this dominant power? What does that look like to you?
That significant pressures are then put on government institutions and NGOs to become an arm of Christianity rather than operate with independence against Christianity.
Okay, an arm of Christianity, what does that mean? What are they doing?
Like right now, NGOs will give money to groups to infiltrate churches to give them counter-training towards LGBTQ, right? A bunch of documents just recently released on this. I'm sure you read them, okay?
A little bit.
Yeah. So the NGOs, the non-government organizations give out tons of money to various groups who go in and say, hey, look, you guys are having trouble with LGBTQ, people getting the correct counseling in your church. Don't worry. We have a special counselor, faith counselor, come in and help assist, train you.
So basically, the counselors he's talking about are not going in and saying like, hey guys, you need to be gay now, or you need to be fully pro-trans. It's just talking about human rights in general. They're talking about spreading a message of freedom throughout the entire world. So if your church does not accept LGBT people at all, then maybe you should try to be more inclusive, or try to hear them out, or try to, act with the patience and humility of Jesus Christ. It's not going to make them do whatever. It's really just faith-based love for your neighbor. That's all they're doing. It's not some nefarious plot. If you're on the side of LGBT rights, you're on the side of freedom. If you're against it, you're an authoritarian. That's what you need to reckon with yourself. And we can talk about that at some point, but
away from things like conversion therapy, this type of thing, right? So these are special interest groups by secularist organizations.
There's nothing about conversion therapy. Oh yeah, no, wait, yeah. Like conversion therapy should obviously be disencouraged or discouraged. Like
which trying to infiltrate the church to exercise power. We're just offering to do this.
So exercising power is going in and teaching about like acceptance of other people and talking about liberty and justice for all. That's good soft power, I think. I think talking about liberty and justice for all is actually a good form of soft power.
Same thing in reverse. Okay, how about we send in our non-government organizations and we say, hey, look, OnlyFans people, let us give you some training on how to get the fuck out of OnlyFans, right? Let us Let us do the same thing, just in the.
But you see how that's just like very, 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 very loaded. OnlyFans, porn. Okay, we're gonna send in Christian organizations to say don't do porn anymore. Versus we're gonna send people in to talk to faith groups that are having issues dealing with, community conflict, and talk to them about being more accepting of other people. So one is like, how dare you do porn? We're gonna send the government to tell you to not do this porn, dude. We're gonna authoritarian crackdown on you. Versus sending a message of liberty and justice for all, talking about the community coming together. Do you see how those two things are not aligned?
Opposite direction. Let us push forward the values and ideas that we have. And if
he is a Christian nationalist. He is a Christian nationalist. But yeah, one thing can be good if you're pro-freedom, like if you're pro-LGBT, and it can be bad if you're anti-freedom. So I think them doing this with NGOs, if they're like, how dare you guys, how would you like it, dude? You guys go in and talk about like accepting gay people. How would you like it if we like took over the NGOs and we used it to like force people to be Christians? And it's like, do you think that's similar at all? Do you think that's similar?
You're willing to use force for your ideals, you can't then be hypocritical and say we can't.
Thank you so much for the donation, SW. Thank you so much for the donation on Cash App. Thank you guys. Yeah, Cash App, Jolah Politics, Venmo. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal, Jolah Politics. This is my third job, so if you want to help support the channel, donating through Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal goes right to my account. Really helpful. I'm very grateful for that. And also, if you want to call in really bad, if you send me $10 or more with your first name and your phone number, I will take your call. Other than that, bro. All right, that guarantees you a call. $10, your first name and phone number. Other than that, though, it's up to luck when I open up the call lines. If you're here when I open up the call lines, you can try to call in. It's not open right now, though. Sorry. I'm watching this right now.
Can't use force for our.
My call-in show will be tonight around like 9 p.m. Eastern if you want to come for the call-ins.
All right, deals.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
People start to rebel. And you get, even if it's not the majority, let's say you get there.
Yeah.
The majority of people in power are Christian, but the people aren't. And people start to.
And remember, see, he's going to say, what if the people don't agree with being gay? But it would pretty much be, Andrew Wilson believes if you support gay people, you're stealing from his freedom if you support gay people. You're stealing from the Christian nationalist freedom if you support gay people. Whereas we say if you take rights from gay people, then you're taking rights away from people because you're actually taking rights away from them. So if it's that paradox where it's like, they get mad and view it as restricting their freedom. Like if you restrict a slave owner from owning slaves, they feel like you're restricting the slave owner's freedom versus viewing having a slave as taking freedom from that slave. Same thing with, they want to regulate and take away rights from gay people, trans people. They think it's okay to take rights away from that demographic group. But we say, no, you don't have a right to take away from the demographic group. So they think they're victims because we want our society to be accepting of other people.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
People start to rebel. And you get, even if it's not the majority, let's say you do.
Yeah, Wilson's going to flip this right back on him.
The majority of people in power are Christian, but the people aren't. And people start to riot and destroy cities. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah, so you would do the exact same thing you would do right now under your constitutional republic. Martial law, right?
So there's no difference again. That's what I'm kind of getting at. Like what you're.
No, there's a difference. What am I telling you the difference is?
You're going to enforce it.
So this is really the identity or the label, the political ideology that he believes in, that Wilson believes in, that the current Trump administration believes in. They want monarchy. They want full control. Under liberal systems, this is why we talk about freedom of speech, right? Under liberal systems, you're allowed to go protest. You can go wave a tiki torch around and say, I hail Hitler, and you're not going to go to jail in America. All right? And you get the freedom of speech to share those views. They're all over the place. Nazis are everywhere right now protesting and just waving their flag around. The little CSGO gamers gone public wearing their dumb face masks. They're allowed to do that. But once the Christian nationalists use that system and take over, they say, well, if there's people protesting, we're going to do martial law. Once we're in power, we're going to do martial law. We're going to crush political dissent. So they're pro-freedom of speech when liberals are in charge. And by liberals, I even mean conservatives now, because conservatives, like George Bush, would be considered a liberal now in this political Overton window that we're currently in. They want freedom of speech when the liberals are in charge so they can make their case and lie to people. But once they're in charge, they will take those freedoms away instantly.
Yeah, so listen. So let's do an experiment, a social experiment, just like right now. So we can see if well, let's try it this way. Do rights exist?
I mean, they exist because something makes them exist.
Yeah, they exist inside your mind, right?
Yeah, it's metaphysical if you think about it.
Yeah, sure. So they don't exist in reality.
You can't touch them.
You can't touch them, smell them, this and that.
But they exist
but
in reality.
If somebody violates my rights, you going to use force?
You get someone to use force for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to get someone to use force for you.
You're going to use the court system, whatever.
So you're willing to use force for a thing that doesn't exist because you believe in it.
Right. What's wrong?
So hang on. So a Christian, you think Christianity is not true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
yeah, but the force they use is they don't believe in human equality. They don't believe in secular values. They don't believe in humans coming together as neighbors and having an egalitarian society. They reject the principle that we can all be equal and help each other grow a better world. They don't believe in that. When you say you don't believe in God, it's completely different because we're advocating from a human perspective based on human principles, what can help all humans have a better future. We're making very direct claims using scientific backed evidence. We're using also moral claims, also evidence from historical, different historical passages of time and just saying like based off this known information, based off what we know by measuring quantitative and qualitative human data, how can we best make a decision moving forward to improve the state of the human race? That is our beliefs. They don't believe in egalitarianism. They don't believe in equality or liberty and justice for all. They don't believe in liberty and justice for all. They don't believe we're all equal. They believe that some people are more equal than others, just like an animal farm. These guys are communists and fascists. They are both. They are authoritarians. We're all equal, but some of us are more equal. They believe in supremacy of a sort. When he says, oh, you don't believe in God, but we're still going to use violence to protect God, like crusaders, you see how that's an issue, because they're trading the big dichotomy or the big battle between humanity and religion. Do you choose humanity or choose religion? Do you choose your own personal beliefs based off whatever you want to believe? Because you can make up a religion, or are we going to have a debate on what exists and what's best for all humans?
So we believe in something also that is not true according to you, but if you violate it, we'd be willing to use force in order to do something about that like you would for my rights. So what's the difference? You saying, I have a thing which does, I have a thing that doesn't exist, but I'm willing to use force in order to enforce it like it does exist. How's that any different than you saying Christianity doesn't exist, but you're willing to use force as though it does exist?
It's like when I debate someone on, it's like when I talk to someone about abortion, okay? When we talk about abortion, they say I believe abortion is wrong because of my beliefs. And my opinion, everyone has their own opinions. You have the same opinion, okay? So someone said to me, they believe abortion should not be legal at conception or at any time because that's a human life. And they think their opinion is just as valid as mine. I can talk about my position on abortion. I can go into physiological reasons that you could talk about abortion. I can go into bodily autonomy. I can go into philosophy when it comes to the consciousness and how a consciousness connects to personhood and when personhood arises and when we should give constitutional rights to a fetus. I can go into all of these different lanes, and I can show a clear understanding of how the mechanisms work that form our biological process of conception, growing into the cells reacting with different chemicals in the body, growing into a fetus, and then becoming a child once it's out of the woman. Okay, I can give a clear explanation about a lot of these factors. I can measure quantitative, qualitative information, all this different wealth of knowledge that we can pull from the human that we as humans have worked so hard to obtain. This knowledge we obtain so we can make the world better. We get knowledge to make the world better. They think our opinions are equal. Their justification is, well, I believe God thinks this, so therefore I win the argument. My justification is based off of real, measurable, tangible arguments, and I also want to talk to my fellow humans who also can measure the world, who don't just say, follow my religion. I can talk to them and debate where our moral standing should be, okay? Where our legal system should be. And as a society, we can make a legal system that can benefit all people, not just Christians, not just Islam, not just right, not just left. A system where religious freedom is protected, where you can express different beliefs and be protected, different political opinions and be protected. In Andrew Wilson's system, those rights have zero chance to be protected. The only rights in this system that can be protected are straight white Christian males. Unironically, that is what they advocate for. Paleo-conservatism. All right, your rights can only be protected for this one group in this system. Under our other systems of a liberal democracy or a secular culture, where we debate values across different religions, across different ethnic groups, across different cultural backgrounds, of course, we can come to an understanding that could benefit all people. That's how America works. That's how America functions. That's why America has not been under a dictator yet. Because we did not allow one identity group to take over. We have conflict, sure, but the conflict's good. The conflict is a good sign because that means we are debating over issues. And we have freedoms to help us all live out our lives as we please. But Andrew Wilson's system inherently blocks the chance for freedom for all people. It blocks it. At least we have a chance to advocate for a more equitable system in other arenas where we talk about the real world and not just about God. Because God, the way they even view God, they ignore the Bible completely. He ignores the Bible every day.
How's that different?
But there's a big difference here.
What?
Let me explain it.
I can't wait to hear it.
With rights, we're talking about a system that
is made up.
It doesn't matter if it's made up.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly.
The Constitution is what makes this entire thing work.
Which is made up.
It doesn't matter. It's the
now you're getting
a
it.
country that doesn't have a constitution.
So if Christianity isn't true, it doesn't matter.
What happens if I go to Saudi Arabia and I start saying that Muhammad is whatever, and just think of something crazy?
They're going to behead you probably. Put your head on a spike.
But I can do that here. Why?
Yeah, you can do that here.
Because no one can enforce anything against me for saying that.
Yeah, right.
So there's a reality behind it. Something's actually working because of those
well, the
rights.
reality is the force you're willing to use for the thing that doesn't exist.
It doesn't matter.
And you're going to act as though it does exist and use force in order to reinforce it, right?
It's like saying knowledge doesn't exist, but obviously there's databases of information that are real.
It's not like saying that.
What do you mean?
You agree with me. Rights themselves don't exist.
They do metaphysically.
Where?
So,
where metaphysically even do they exist?
Well, okay, Bill of Rights, Constitution. What do you mean?
You mean to the piece of paper?
Piece
but
of
they're
paper,
constructs of the mind is my point.
Exactly. That's why I said it's metaphysical.
Yeah.
They exist.
Okay, got it. So that's what you mean by metaphysical.
Yeah.
Okay. So these constructs of the mind, they're not actually true. Like it's not true that you have a right to freedom of speech, right? That's not true.
But here's the thing: nothing will happen to me here where we have freedom.
Not
of
disagreeing.
Speech.
Okay, right now this guy's terrible. Get me on these debate stages on these panels. This guy sucks. He sucks. The argument is over utility. The argument's over which can create a more free and fair society that can hold human process as a top priority and maintain freedoms for all people from different beliefs. And he should be arguing right now that our system, our Constitution, was made based off the knowledge our founding fathers had of what it felt like to have a monarch and to be under religious oppression. So we made our document with that knowledge, and we made a document to say we should run society this way, and this is why we should agree in our society why this document makes sense. We should reinforce these values because it is made up in a sense, but if people believe it, they will use the state forces to enact those shared values. So if we have a constitution that is made keeping into mind human history, experiences, quantitative, qualitative data, okay, you can take into mind every person's right to freedom of expression that they would like to have and find middle grounds and find processes to resolve conflict. If you can decide on a good document like that, that's a creative process between a bunch of different people with different incentives. You can have a stable society, which is why our Constitution is one of the longest documents. It is the longest document to ever exist in a country this complex and this large. It's been the most successful because we were able to advocate for those different qualities. And because our founding fathers learned directly from a monarch that we don't want to go back to that. So this guy should be debating the utility of why we would advocate for the Constitution over allowing Christian nationalism to take over and religious doctrine to supersede legal consensus or to supersede moral consensus in a society. That's the real argument. I don't know why this guy is letting Andrew Wilson walk him down this thing of, well, what is really true? What is false? What is made up? Everything is made up. Words are made up. People are made up. The concept of a civilization at all is made up, of course. We are engaging in a conversation on what the new social contracts ought to be. What rules ought society to follow? That is the whole conversation here. I don't know why he is letting Andrew Wilson walk him down this path so easily.
in comparison to somewhere
Not
where I
disagreeing
don't.
because they use the force.
So you see how there's a
No,
reality
the
behind
reality
it.
is exactly the same. If I make up something,
Exactly the same. I'm not getting beheaded.
I know.
So it's
If
different
I
reality.
make up something in my brain, like this is God, let's say.
Yeah.
This is God. And its properties are, if you say Coors Light is better than Bud Light, you get beheaded, right? Now I'm willing to use force on behalf of this thing that you don't believe is true. Okay, but you use force right now on behalf of things you don't believe are true.
Right, but it's the process behind the whole entire system.
Oh my God!
Is that there's a Bill of Rights, there's a Constitution.
Yeah.
Everyone has these things in common. It puts
I'm not
everybody
disputing
it puts
that your
everybody at
force that
Again, it's because the founding fathers wrote this document knowing a monarchy was bad. So he wanted to make sure power was decentralized in our system. It was decentralized. So one group could not take over. So one group's preference for their beliefs could not take over. We wanted a society more focused on intelligence and more focused on conflict and more focused on tough conversations. That's why this document is better. That's why America's great. Why is this guy on this freaking stage? This is why American Christian nationalism is on the rise. Because a bunch of guys like this are the ones talking to these guys. He is a master propagandist, okay? He's a propagandist. You need to understand the narrative and provide the counter narratives. Because the narratives and counter narratives, they make countries. Counter narratives make countries. They make societies. They build the foundations for everything.
you using force has results.
Right, but if you don't have those metaphysical things, think of how different things would be.
Yeah, they would be very
Oh
different.
my God, dude. Did he do
So
no
there's a
research?
that's what I'm saying. There's a reality that is a result of the fake
Just
rights.
like the reality of me believing what you would
no, I don't
consider to
deny
be
that. I don't deny
so
that.
what you would consider to be fake God
I don't deny
has
it.
huge benefits for guys like you, right?
I agree. I was hoping we would go there. Because
So if that's the case, like we're basically
religion helps people, right? We agree on that. Religion,
Well, Christianity
and other religions too. I've looked this up. I've actually brought some studies.
some more than others.
University of California did brain scans.
Supremacy. Christian nationalism is the only religion. He believes that women should be subservient to men. I'm pretty sure he believes that women should not have bank accounts. Like women should not be. We should go back to like the 1800s. Yeah, paleoconservatism. That's what. Yeah, they believe. They also cite the Old Testament a lot. They don't talk about post-covenant. Jesus Christ. All right, they don't talk about the New Testament very much because the New Testament would fire back at all of his dumbass ideas. But they quote Judeo-Christian or paleoconservatism values. So they can go back to the Old Testament, which was a lot more barbaric and a lot less understanding. Because Jesus clarified a lot of what the Old Testament said about being understanding, being humble, being disciplined, supporting other people, being open to the weakest in society, less oppressive hierarchies.
To determine
My brain scans.
well, there's other ones too.
I'm sure it's good science, bro.
There's studies from Duke University about meditation.
No, Andrew Wilson isn't winning, but he is winning. He is winning because it doesn't matter if you win the facts. The facts don't matter. And in this sense, you're not advocating for facts even, but you need to understand the frameworks in which we are talking. Like, we need to understand why we're having this conversation, what the intent is of having a discussion like this. And he's engaging like a good faith philosophy student in his first semester, talking in class in a group project. And he's talking like a well-trained propagandist who wants to lead our country to Christian nationalism and authoritarianism. And it just doesn't work. Sounding right is the only thing that matters. Sounding right is all that matters. The people that have good views and have truthful values and can spread the truth and also sound convincing, those people need to be out here, not this guy. You need truth. You need to understand what the consequences are of your speech, and you need to be able to have the counter narratives. Like I said, you have to have the counter narratives. Oh God, so slimy.
Cognitive performance.
Mm-hmm.
University at Wisconsin did studies that showed both of those two are correct. The point is, people who are religious do have better lives.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm agreeing with you that even if it's metaphysical, not real, there's a reality behind it. But the same thing exists for rights, right?
Well, religious people also tend to avoid conflict. They don't have to really think as much about their place in the world or existentialism. There's less reason to be depressed because if they have a dark thought, if you're very religious, you could just say God's going to take care of this, or if someone dies, God just, it's God's plan. It's their time. They're in a better place now. It gives a lot of cushion for the uncomfortable parts of the world to be very religious. It gives a lot of cushion to you, and that's why the Christian nationalism works. Like I said, for abortion, they don't need to justify why abortion is bad. They could just say, well, my belief system is this, and you need to respect my belief system. But the issue is they want to use their belief system, not backed by any fact. They want to use their belief system to be authoritarian and control other people's actions. Whereas I would say we should all be talking about this in a framework that allows for maximum freedom. I love maximum freedom. But they are not, he does not want maximum freedom in society. You guys, people like him, they want a system where white men, and I don't mean to even say white men, but that's what it is. It's white Christian nationalism. And you have to stop crying about it when we talk about things how they are. But he wants a system where white men win by default. Okay? He wants a system where white men live by default. That's why he goes on the dating shows. That's why he never talks about men getting better. He never talks about men working out or going to the gym or learning how to socialize or learning how to work in society or learning how to read a book. He never talks about men being more disciplined or cleaning their room, like Jordan Peterson used to say. He never talks about any personal responsibility. He never encourages people to find better in themselves or their neighbors. He never encourages any teachings of Jesus Christ. He encourages people to be crybabies and sell losers, and to be mad about society. You want to win by default. You want affirmative action for white people. That's what you want. Not white people, but white men. You want to go back to paleoconservatism, because in that social system, you could be on top of society and be mediocre and not have to do shit. And you could watch him. He never convinces people to do better with themselves. He never teaches values of actual masculinity or caring for a family or caring for a community or talking to opposing views. He's just a dirty propagandist.
No, there's no reality to rights.
I just explained it.
No. You're confusing
dude.
the truth with the effect. So the idea is like, here's what's actually true.
The truth
what's
with the
true
effect.
is
the effect is the
you
truth,
pretend.
The effect is the truth, though.
Yeah, the effect is true.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the same with religion.
Yeah, I agree that the effect is true. So neither of us are going to dispute that the effect is true on both ends, right? What I'm saying to you is just simply this: that you can't criticize people.
Sponsored by Atheists for Liberty.
For using force on behalf of their fictitious sky daddy. If you use force on behalf of your fictitious piece of fucking paper, right?
You cannot criticize people for using force on behalf of their fictitious sky daddy that wants to be an authoritarian government to shut down all religions and opposing views. We cannot criticize you for being beholden to made-up principles in your particular version of your religion, because people that study Christianity also have different views from Andrew Wilson. He's comparing that to like believing that slavery is wrong. Yeah, society believes slavery is wrong. That's just like, we cannot find any shared human reasoning for why that should be a shared human right. Or like I guess they would argue against utilitarianism and all that kind of stuff, but that's whatever. I don't know any of the philosophy terms, by the way. I know all the functions because it's very basic and what arguments you need to make. But that might actually benefit me in a conversation like this, because I'm not going to try to have a wordy conversation about this. We have to get straight to the point on how society should operate and why this kind of system maximizes freedom, and why we ought to believe in systems where everyone has a chance to influence the document that has maximum freedom for the largest amount of different kinds of people. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is a strength, guys. Diversity is power. Diversity is power.
What you're doing is you're just saying, here's the values that I have, and I'm willing to kill on behalf of them. Those are the values they have. They're willing to kill on behalf of them. But if it's all subjective and nonsense...
But I'm confused.
If
You're saying...
If it's all subjective and nonsense, right? You're both applying this...
Oh my God, just have him advocate for why his values are better. Have that be the conversation. This is so...
News and CNN, you have...
It's like, if everybody ignores a law... It's not a
Christian
law.
nationalism
This
on
happened
trial.
during the mass mandates. If
Christian nationalism on trial, bro. He's really pushing Christian nationalism right now. He's really doing a good job. Really doing a great job. Christian nationalism is on its heels right now. They're backpedaling. They don't know what to do.
Everybody in an area ignored the mass mandates. They didn't exist. The law was completely useless and worthless as long as people ignored it. It's the social power that matters. It's the media power that matters.
Right.
The propaganda that matters.
You can
not
also
the
choose.
law.
You can also choose between Fox News and CNN. There's different media outlets that say different.
Who is
that push
this guy?
different
Well,
worldviews.
the media landscape has changed, which makes this possible in a way that it didn't used to be possible.
Yeah, no, I actually think that's good. That the media landscape should change and be more diverse.
Yeah, but it makes this idea actually now possible and viable. It's actually possible. It's actually viable. Where now, okay, we got X. We have other public platforms. We're not getting thrown off for saying, hey, we have alternative ideas about transgender, LGBTQ.
Alternative ideas. This is also how far-right ideologies always thrive. When they are allowed to be spreading their message without any restriction at all, people believe them because their narratives are very compelling. Liberals and the left in general focuses on good policy and good governing. But once things get stable in a society, like economically, then people are less likely to follow individuals for economic reasons or follow political ideologies for economic reasons. So they go to social issues and cultural issues. And while liberals and whatever are focusing on freedom, which is a lot less of a, anger and fearful commitment to freedom, you're committing to just providing some type of equal values for new cultures, which are going to be inherently opposing the conservative cultures because it's new, it's different, it's going to make people feel uncomfortable. While progressives and liberals do that, these guys are just focusing on propaganda, fully propaganda. And once you have a media revolution like this, where they are not held back by, you could say it's censorship, but also it does play a pivotal role in not allowing lies to spread about like neo-Nazis or about like racial hierarchies or that's the big debate right now. Like, as much as you want to be pro free speech, you are not really pro free speech if you don't understand how it works. Like, if you don't understand that, like I said earlier, the Nazi Party used free speech to get power to the point where they can get unitary control, get single party control of the government. Speech motivates people. It changes perceptions. It gets people to act. It gets people to not act. It gets people to believe in a new system of governing. Speech is probably, speech and propaganda and all this messaging is the biggest, most important thing, the most important thing possible, or most important thing we can engage in.
We have alternative ideas when it comes to immigration. We have alternative ideas when it comes to who we're going to import into our nation, who have different foundational ethics than we do.
See, the conversation about immigration is never about that, but that's what they mean. I know Trump did the Muslim ban, but the white nationalists in the White House right now, not Trump. Trump's a puppet, but the actual white nationalists, they do focus on the cultures coming in. They're afraid of other cultures. They want to make America to be more of a single party, single religion, single race state. The Great Replacement theory and everything. But you see, Andrew Wilson goes right to ethnic reasons as a reason to not take immigrants, not like not values or not like violence or not about jobs, just ethics or about religious frameworks. We don't want different religions polluting our areas.
Right. We have all sorts of different ideas now, and so it's like now though we're not just being depersoned for them because the landscape of the technocrats has changed.
Last thing I want to ask you about, and then because I think we're getting towards the end.
Oh, here you go, guys. Okay. I did not see this yet. I did not see this until right now. Donald Trump put up that quote again. I predicted this. Everyone did. We knew they were going to violate the courts. It was very, 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 very easy to see. But under a post that says, Judge rules Trump admin defying court order to release billions in grants, New York Times, he put the quote up again with a picture of Napoleon. He who saves his country violates no law. Napoleon who became a brutal dictator and couped the government. So yeah, they're going to just not listen to court orders. And they've been signaling this. They said this before the election. He should not be a dictator, but if the American people don't stand up and tell their representatives he should not be a dictator, then he's going to be. And by the time things get bad enough for enough Americans to care, we might be in a position that is hard to recover from. But yeah, there it is. He's just doing it like we knew he was gonna, but it's still sad to see. Our founding fathers, the vision of this country is being torn apart. Crazy, bro. Crazy, crazy times. Crazy times. All the years they pretended to care about the Constitution. They pretended to care about the Constitution, bro. And they say, Joe Biden never listened to the court. Yeah, you did. Every quote about Joe Biden not listening to the court. Every quote about Joe Biden not listening to courts. Joe Biden did listen to the courts. When he said we're still going to do student debt cancellation, even with the court striking down the cancellation method he was using. Biden did not say we will ignore the courts. He did not say I'm a dictator. He did not say I'm going to overrule the judiciary branch or the judicial branch. Biden tried a different legal method to cancel student loan debt. Joe Biden did not just simply ignore the courts. He tried a different method when he said he was going to still cancel student loan debt in some way. He found a different way to do it. He listened to the courts. There was not a single time the Biden administration defied a court order, let alone this many. But, yep, here we are. Dictatorville. Woohoo! Fun, fun, fun. Pack it up, boys. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back on later tonight. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Oh no, people don't care about the, yep, F the lib court. Someone said F the lib court. They think it's a lib court, bro. We're cooked. Like, it can literally be like a Scalia fanboy, super far right conservative, textualist, constitutional lawyer as a judge, and they're gonna say it's a liberal judge. Like, there's literally Reagan, Bush, and Reagan judges. There's even Trump judges ruling against him. Okay, and now they're considered to be corrupt leftists. And Elon Musk is advocating for Republicans to impeach any judge. To impeach any judge that rules against Trump. They want to remove any judge that goes against Trump. They're doing every single step to a dictatorship, bro. Every step. Every step.
You are looking.
So I guess Donald Trump did the Daytona 500. He spent like $20 million for the Super Bowl and probably like $30 million for this. And they were doing loops. They were doing loops around Daytona and also driving around the track.
You are looking at Air Force One as it
Our
makes
taxpayer dollars
over the Great American Race. The
Our taxpayer dollars are burning apart. They're burning to shreds. They're burning to ashes. Whatever.
He is going to enjoy the race with the tens of thousands of fans who are there, both
and he drove around the track in the motorcade, bro.
In the infield, and for the folks who are watching outside.
Yeah, bro. Let's cut money from poor kids and give it to president's propaganda. Yes, that's what Americans voted for, bro. Steal from the poor, give it to president propaganda. Yes, less money for the poor, less money for the poor, more money propaganda. Less money poor, more money propaganda, less money poor, more money propaganda, less money poor, more money propaganda. Woo! Wow, dude. He's doing illegal things. Someone should stop him. If only we had an executive branch to execute laws. You know, we never thought about that, did we? Did we think about that? The executive branch would be in charge of enforcing laws on themselves. Whoa. But also, to be honest, and this is a common theme, there's no constitutional document that can protect from a citizenry, an American public, which has gone this far down the route of just like total nonsense. There's nothing that can protect against what's happening right now. There's no document you can craft. This is all society. This is all the social contract being torn to shreds. So, I mean, that's why Democrats need leaders to give an alternative future, a different future. Not returning to the same future, but an alternative future. The alternative. What is this bill? The South Carolina prenatal? Wait. South Carolina, wait. South Carolina miscarriage law?
That you just made.
What is the South Carolina abortion? Damn! Bill to punish people getting abortions with death penalty? This has been happening? Bro. The bill defines fetuses and embryos. Oh, God. The bill defines fetuses and embryos at any stage of pregnancy as legal persons, thus defining any type of abortion, including those that happen before the state's 6-week abortion ban, as homicide, effectively creating a total abortion ban. Although the legislation's language makes exceptions for a case where a person's life is endangered due to their pregnancy or a miscarriage, critics of the original bill noted that the proposal requires a person to prove their own innocence in such cases, meaning that even those who meet the exception criteria could be subjected to criminal punishment. So they want the death penalty for this, and this is how you isolate women's health care. Because if there's a miscarriage and you're a doctor and you're treating someone, if you're a OBGYN, and you know, they have a miscarriage, the courts can blame you and send you to jail for, no, not even jail, for life. Death penalty. The bill pushes the doctrine of fetal personhood and makes religious references to God's image within its text. Not only life in prison, but there's a chance you could be put to death. You can be put to death by the government. If saying "nuh-uh, you're lying" is debunking something, then America's cooked. America's just cooked, bro. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna do some other stuff. If you want to hang out in Discord, I'll probably hop in Discord and chat for a little bit. If you guys want to chat about the destruction of humanity, we can do that if you want to in Discord. Crap. Raistlin sent me. Whoa. He said jump to 108. 10803.
Pretty much basically the only grounds for divorce.
Okay.
But the reason I ask this is because under our purview, I believe my wife is me. We are one flesh. We have been given to each other under one flesh. And these were the oaths that we took to our Lord together.
Your belief is irrelevant. Your belief is irrelevant.
Believe that you and your wife are one flesh?
I don't know that I think of it that way, but I understand spiritually.
She's your right arm.
Sure.
Would you cut your right arm off?
No.
Okay, can your right arm rape your penis?
It's a different question.
No, it's not
right
a different
arm...
question. You're either one flesh, and you both believe that you took oaths that you're one flesh.
That's not true.
Or you don't.
My wife has free will. My right arm doesn't.
Your wife's free will is only as complementary as your own. You are one.
That could be true, but nonetheless, your belief. Are one. Let me finish on this specific question. What you believe is irrelevant if your wife believes this is rape.
What if your right arm believed it was rape?
Your right arm doesn't have its own brain or cognitive function or free will.
Let's pretend for a second it did. Within a hypothetical.
Okay, then it would be rape. If my right arm was controlled by a different brain and I grabbed it and forced it to do something against its will, then yes, that would be rape in this stupid hypothetical.
You throw your right arm in prison, even though it's you?
It would be rape. It's a hypothetical. It's one of the dumber hypotheticals that I've ever heard.
No, well,
we don't need to go. With this hypothetical because
what is one
does your wife have free will? Does she have free will?
Of course she does.
Is she possible to sin? Okay, let me finish. Is it possible that you, or the inverse of this, I won't say it, but you get it, you're smart enough to understand this, that you could want to do something that is Christian, but your wife in that same situation decides to engage in sin? And
see, this is really the political spectrum too. It's like you have conservatives, then you have like more MAGA, which is like Rob, then you have him, which is like the new Trump administration. So Rob is the first Trump admin, okay? Then you have like conservatives, like I said, in the middle. Conservatives, first Trump admin, second Trump admin. Like, this is the big difference between like where we're going as a country with the right wing. This is crazy, bro.
And disagrees with you, or the inverse. Is that possible?
I mean, I suppose in the abstract it would be possible, sure.
Okay, then the idea that just because you say, my belief is that we are of one body, therefore I could do whatever I want with your body at any time, is irrelevant if your wife says, I disagree. And your only recourse to that would be like, but it would be the biblically Christian thing for her to.
He's talking about Handmaid's Tale stuff where you're allowed to assault your wife and force her to have intercourse with you. That's what Andrew Wilson's advocating for.
Not disagree with me. Doesn't matter what the is. What matters is what the is. And the is she disagrees with you, and therefore it's rape.
Hang on. Both of those things don't make any sense. Let me ask you a question, right? Let's say you get fucking drunk and you pass out. Okay, now, I don't mean this as a shot, by the way. Your wife's lovely and you have a lovely family. So don't take this the wrong way.
She's listening, so be careful.
Okay, yeah. So let's just say you're drunk and you're passed out.
Someone just said, I hate Trump, but unfortunately democracy is even worse. Thinking any form of government has your best interest in mind is like thinking the stripper actually loves you. I hate Trump, but unfortunately democracy is even worse. You realize that dictatorship is a form of government that's much more oppressive than democracy. And democracy is the, by far, freest form of government we've ever had in human history. But you want to give it up to dictatorship. And you're probably a bot anyway. It's a fake account, but still.
Okay? And your wife stimulates you and gets on top of you and does her thing, okay? And you didn't consent. Did she rape you, Ron?
Doesn't matter. It's
what do you mean it doesn't matter?
Well,
it matters. Did she rape you or not?
Let me finish. I would say no. Because the reason I say it doesn't matter is because it's going to be up to the individual. So me as an individual will say no. But again, it's interesting that you keep using this specific. Let's say, let's take it to the logical extension. Let's say that I'm not drunk, that I'm perfectly sober.
I'm not done with my line of inquiry. I'll give it back, but I'm not done with my line of inquiry yet. So if the answer is no, this would then mean that you assume the same of her, correct?
No.
You don't assume that even though it's not rape for you, that if she was drunk and passed out, you couldn't have your way with her, even though she could have her way with you. You wouldn't assume that it was mutual?
And also, yeah, that is the big thing, too. If you lost trust in your government, you were never involved. The people that don't trust government have never really tried to engage with their neighbors or to work with each other to, like, have a better future. You don't believe in any government at all. You believe in dictatorship. You have given up on the concept of a civilized society at all, of a free society at all. Because people who work in government understand the complexities and how difficult it really is to do a good job on behalf of other people and to manage these huge complex systems of safety and freedom and whatever. Everyone that says they like hate immigrants, for example, you know, get them out of our country, or like I hate government, they're typically people who have no experience with those fields or with those areas.
That's correct. Just because I might think one thing for myself doesn't mean I would assume it about my wife.
That's the logical extension.
My assumption about what she would think would be based on conversations of what she feels that she's had with me in the past. If she had
like
led
a marriage
me to
vow?
But not just that. If we had a marriage vow, but she said never touch me when I'm asleep, it doesn't matter what that vow was. It is clear to me that it's overridden by the affirmed consent that she has revoked, saying when I'm asleep, that it's not justified. Now, can I get on to what the logical extrapolation of what you're saying is? Because you keep talking about this very specific scenario, right? You're saying, well, what if someone fell asleep? Well, that's not all consent is. There could be negative consent given, right? Where someone says, I actually am verbally telling you I do not consent. It could have nothing. Because what you're talking about is interpretations of consent that we could even through a framework of just legally quibble about. Like, for example, if a guy only has 3 beers, but the girl has 10.
No, Race, I'm not saying I agree with Rob. I'm saying, oh no, the president's cabinet agrees with Rob, or no, the president's cabinet agrees with Andrew. Like I said before, I'm seeing the first Trump admin debate the second Trump admin. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm literally seeing the two opposing views. Like, oh my God, bro, it's scary. Because this Christian nationalism, he is mainstream now. This guy's mainstream. Like, if I had to advocate for banning anyone from a platform, I'd choose him. Like, his ideology is unironically what leads to Nazism. Like, unironically, he's advocating for systems that he's using propaganda to advocate for a system that voids all freedom. Like. Because it comes to a point where you say, like, for example, educate people, you know, become more convincing, but you can't really out-convince, like, intelligent, rational arguments are never going to out-convince a general citizenry versus a very focused propagandist. A very skilled propagandist will bulldoze anyone that wants to share any type of truth. It's just how it is. It's going to be more, yeah. It's just thinking a stripper loves you is like saying the billionaires are on your side. Yeah, that's more analogous. Concentrated power. But if he's like if someone was like an extreme propagandist, let's say they had a magical power with a microphone to spread hateful ideologies, and they can convince huge groups of people to start rioting. I would say that's inciting violence. Or if you're advocating for this ideology, I would say this is fundamentalist enough where you're going to have people rioting and cause violence in this system. In the same way that if you go to Saudi Arabia, I would not allow them to come and talk about how women should be objects that you're allowed to sexually assault. I would not allow that speech either, because it's advocating for violence. The fundamentalist view is so radical. And you would hope that the society just rejects these views. But I would say it's like freedom of speech versus freedom of reach, where you're not like going to be put in prison for saying it. But also, you should not have the ability to be broadcasted or boosted by algorithms or broadcasted to every TV in the country with these views. Freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. Not freedom that the social media companies are going to boost you everywhere, or that the news shows need to host your opinion. But just like, yeah, you have freedom of speech. You're not going to go to jail for saying it, but you're also not going to get a microphone, like a huge microphone, to say this crazy shit. Most Islamophobia Christians are the closest to the Muslims they hate. Exactly. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yep. Alright, I'm gonna go hang out in Discord for a little bit, guys. DJ's in there. Community hangout. I'll be back on later tonight for the call-in show. I'll do the call-in show like let's say around the same time, 9:30 Eastern. The 9:30 Eastern, I think sounds good for tonight. I'll schedule that. But see you guys in Discord if you want to hang out for a little bit. Maybe we'll do a watch party for the Peace Go debate then. I can go live for that too. I don't know. I love how Russia, the U.S., Russia, to make a deal about Ukraine being invaded, the U.S. is meeting with Russia in Saudi Arabia, ignoring the EU and ignoring Ukraine. Okay, bypassing the EU and Ukraine, they're talking to Russia in Saudi Arabia to come to terms with what they should do. Gays for Palestine is the dumbest movement the planet has ever seen. I very much disagree with that. Because if you're pro-gay rights, you're probably pro-freedom in general. Even if a group does not like you for some type of reason, they would still say what's happening to Palestinians are wrong, even if they disagree with people being gay. Especially considering the party in power right now in America probably has just as radical, if not more radical, anti-gay views than anyone in Palestine does. It's at least equal. But yeah, like, you're not going to say this brutal occupation and expulsion of people, borderline ethnic cleansing, borderline genocide, you're not going to say that's okay because, oh, some of them don't like gay rights, especially when the people that are trying to kill them also don't, like, you realize the people that want to kill them hate gays. Like, the U.S. politicians are not accepting of gay people. They're trying to do this right now. You can support a group and not agree with them and still say it's a human atrocity. And you would probably just say, like, hey, stop doing atrocities and we could talk about freedom. But you can't even say that because you're against gay people. So, like, you hate gay people. So, like, anyone that makes that argument, that gays for Palestine is a dumb argument, you're probably anti-gay anyway. So, like, what are you saying at that point? They should go there and find out. You should go there and find out, dumbass. Go to these countries. Go to Israel and talk about your views on Jewish people. I really want to see how they react. Because I guarantee I view Jewish people in a much more positive light than you do. Crazy. 50% of the Ukraine's mineral rights to Elon. Oh, God. All right, guys. See you in Discord. Talk to you later. 9:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Dementia Donnie, true. Look at that gay emo background too, bro. What the hell? Guys, the account that's posting... I can't show this. I can't show this on stream, really. But there's a Maya Triaz account posting in the comments right now. Okay? A Maya Triaz account posting in the comments. if you see that account and click on their name, it's a literal bot AI porn account. It's a literal porn account talking about how the LGBT community is terrible and dangerous. It's a literal AI porn account. Like, or is this a real person posting porn? Do you think it's not good to post porn to a platform that kids are on, especially YouTube Shorts, Maya? Maya, what the hell? Maya, what the hell? Maya, take that down. Kids are gonna see that. What the hell? Yeah, true. Does he even melt stuff? Satanic background? Yeah. Missing out on the fun chat? Nah, it's not fun. It's up, Suri. Alright, Discord time. Goodbye. See you later. Thank you.